All right, I admit it, I was not a believer before, but I am now. In this video, I'm going to address the question, can you really get pro quality mixes if you're only using programmed drums? And before I go on, let me just play you a mix I ended up with using only programmed drums. By the way, this is completely all in the box with digital tools, so it's MIDI drums, programmed drums. The bass and guitar are also just with amp sim plugins. Just the bass. So not only programmed drums, but everything is digital. Everything's in the box. By the way, you can check out the other video I did shooting out amp sims versus real amp tones. But stick with me for now. On this video, we're going to talk about the drums. By the way, just a little background info. I am not someone who has grown up on programmed drums. Like, I've used them before on records, but back when I started recording, mixing full-time in 2007, like basically everything on my discography, with a few exceptions, it's real tracked, live drums, real amps, all that stuff. So these digital tools, back then I don't think they were really good enough to do it. I think around maybe 2010 to 2012, I did do a couple records with programmed drums and it worked out fine. But I just want to say that, like, I am not some programmed drums MIDI ninja. I actually really don't like working with MIDI at all. I would rather do real drums, but I'm saying that, just so you have confidence that it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to do programmed drums and MIDI for your whole life to get these results. And it's not like I've spent a ton of time trying to hack my way to pro quality programmed drums. Actually, I think having more experience in real drums is an advantage here, because you actually know how real drummers play, what real drum recordings sound like, and even when you're editing them, the differences in kind of dynamics and velocities and the minute differences in timing. The more you're experienced with real drum tracks, the better you'll be able to mimic that when you're programming the MIDI. Over the past couple of years, I've seen more and more of my premium course members talking about programmed drums, using programmed drums in their productions. In fact, I surveyed about 150 of those engineers and found out that on average, they're using programmed drums in at least 70% of their productions or more. A lot of people using it in like 80, 90, or 100% of their work. But at the same time, over 90% of those people were not satisfied with the results and the sounds they were getting. And it's really all the same problems that people are having. They're saying there's a lack of human feel, the mix sounds inauthentic, they're struggling to commit and choose sounds and drum tones, there's too many options, it's tedious and a long process to program MIDI drums, doesn't sound as realistic, the drums sound great on their own, but they don't sit in a mix. Probably all the same problems that you've felt if you've worked with MIDI drums as well. So I decided, okay, I need to answer this once and for all and decide and see for myself, as of this moment, with the tools we have available right now, is it possible to get album quality, label release ready productions using only these digital tools, programmed drums and amp sims? So here's how I decided to answer that question. I went back and selected a song of a band I was in a long time ago, a song I recorded using real drums, real amps and everything. And I decided to retrack and recreate that song from zero, from the ground up, using only programmed drums and only amp sims. So let me go back to Pro Tools here and show you the A/B of what we ended up with. So I already played you a little bit of the new mix. Let me go back and just play the old mix for you here. So that was the original song with real drums, real guitar amps, all that. And here's my new one with everything digital in the box. Let's go back to the old mix. New mix. Now what about kind of a quieter section with clean guitars, more dynamic drums? How does that sound? Well, let's just check this out. Here's the old mix again. Here's the new one. Old one. New one. So I don't know about you, but I would say the new version sounds just as realistic, but also sounds much better. We got more clarity, more punch, all that good stuff. And as you can see, I used Superior Drummer for the drum MIDI here. So let me open that up for you. Let me just solo my Superior drum tracks. And this is just from the stock sounds that come with Superior Drummer 3. I used the Metal Organic preset and just kind of adapted it because they have hidden some drums. I don't like using all the processing they have here. So this is just for an audition to just hear the sounds of the drums, to choose, cymbals, toms, and stuff. And then when I actually go and print it down to audio, which I always recommend you do, by the way, is, not just leave your drums triggering live in Superior in MIDI. Like, put it down to audio like a real drum kit. You see I've got my kick, my snare, my toms, overheads, rooms all separated out. When I do that, I disable all the processing in here. So we end up with just the raw tracks, the raw multi-tracks for the drums. You can hear the room tracks. So that's how I'm bouncing it out there. And in terms of the MIDI, obviously the key to getting realistic sounding drum tracks is using velocities a lot. And there's a couple other little tricks I'll talk about in a minute when it comes to slight timing differences. And there's a good way to do this and a wrong way to do it. You don't want to just randomize everything by 25%. That sucks. There's specific ways to do this. But really velocity, if you can look at this song starts with a pretty fast drum fill. So look at the velocities here in the MIDI. We just do what a lot of people do and just crank these all up to 127. Not very cool, but with a little tasteful editing. Same here when we have some double kick. And in that mellow section with the clean guitars, listen to the hi-hat and just the different velocities and how it's programmed the way a real drummer plays it. So those are the raw MIDI drums, and then, like I said, printing those down to audio tracks, mixing it just like I mix a real kit. Now, I typically don't use the kick and snare sounds from Superior or really any other drum plugin. I print it down, use my own kick and snare samples for the most part. I think I actually mixed in a little bit of the kick and snare from Superior here, but for the most part, I'm leaning on my own custom drum samples. But I use the tom sounds, I use the hi-hats, the overheads, the rooms from Superior, and get great results like this. So I think you can reach your own conclusion here, hearing the old mix and the new version. But I would say the answer is yes. You can absolutely get pro quality, album ready mixes and productions using programmed drums, using amp sims, but you need to approach it the right way. And you need to be able to program good drum tracks with the feel of a real drummer. You have to program that human feel, that human element into the MIDI. And even when it comes to mixing the drums and doing the guitar and bass and everything, I actually think you need to approach using these digital tools, these amp sims, the same way you would record a real amp. So that means printing it down to audio, committing to tones, not constantly fiddling with the amp settings all the way through the final mix. You can't do that when you're recording real amps or real drums. So why would you work that way like most people do when you're working with these tools? Now, I actually created an entire course, an entire training program around this, around getting album quality mixes using programmed drums. and amp sims, and I did it using this song that I just showed you. Like I said, I built this from scratch, programming all the MIDI for the drums and then recording the guitar and bass right here at home using amp sims. And I filmed the entire process and explained how and why and what I'm doing every step of the way. That new training program is called Digital Production Blueprint. Now, the bad news is, look, you can't actually get access to this course right now. I'm not going to tell you to go hit a link and buy this Digital Production Blueprint right now. You can't. And the reason is, look, I'm actually against just teaching people program drums and amp sim stuff. I'm really not trying to create engineers who can only use these digital tools, who can only get good results if it's MIDI drums and if it's amp sims, but who are lost in the real world if they actually have to record a real drum kit or mic up a real amp. And look, if your goal is just to get good at using these digital tools in the box and you have no interest in engineering, in a studio out in the real world with the real instruments, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's fine, but I'm probably not your guy. That's not what I'm trying to accomplish. That's not how I'm trying to help people and teach people here. But if you do want to learn what it actually takes to make pro caliber recordings and mixes in today's industry and how to be a real engineer, then go ahead and register for my upcoming video series called The Full Stack Producer. I'll put the link up here somewhere and also in the description below. You can go and sign up right now. Now, this video series is going to be available for a limited time only, but it's going to show you what the pros actually do. The guys who are making your favorite records, doing your favorite mixes that you are comparing your own work against, well, they're doing things that you don't really learn on YouTube. They're not following the same rules. So the purpose of this video series is to reveal all those secrets to you, show you what real pros are actually doing on real records so you can do the same thing. And during that video series, you'll also learn more about how to get access to this digital production blueprint training that I talked about here. So go ahead, click the link, register for the Full Stack Producer video series now, like before you forget, because like I said, it's limited time. You're not going to be able to access it whenever you want. So hit the link, register for it now. And if you happen to be watching this at a later date and the video series isn't available, well, no worries. We'll be doing that or something similar again soon. So still use the same link. You can still sign up for the waiting list and we'll let you know as soon as the next free training is available. So hopefully this gives you hope, whether you're recording real drums, real amps, and you have the space and the gear to do that, or if you're using these tools, look, you can get these pro quality results. You can get mixes that stand up against the pros, and I want to help you get there. I want to help you to become a tried and true, seasoned, legit, real world, full stack producer. All right, again, sign up for the series, and we'll see you soon.